Hello and welcome to the Lion Show. It's your host, your favorite business coach, Robert Lyon. Today, we get to have the great pleasure of talking to Tony Rambles. And he's a podcaster, public speaker. He's a teacher. I mean, he's a pretty cool guy, man. So why don't you just kind of introduce yourself, Tony, and tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're up to.
What's up, everybody? My name's Tony Rambles. And man, I guess this question is always hard because it's like, where do I start, right? So I'm a teacher. I think everywhere I go, I've always been a teacher, whether I've had the title or not, whether it was working at Forever 21, that always shocks people. I was always training people, helping out, whether it was working at Chase or even in the position I am now as an educator. From day one, I'm always that person just trying to help, trying to teach, trying to train. Things that I do is, I'm a podcaster. I am an actual high school teacher. I teach speech class. So it all kind of coincides with who I am. And I'm also a coach girls basketball and softball. Still hoop a little bit myself when I get a chance. So those are just a few things, but everywhere I go, man, I just try to bring positive energy.
That's what's up, man. So I think I took public speaking in like college or something like that. I mean, I didn't graduate college, but I took a public speaking class. How long have you been teaching that?
I've been teaching speech class for 5 years because my first year I spent in China teaching English.
I know, that's pretty cool, actually. So my sister went to Korea and taught English experience, but I've always wanted to go to China, man. So why don't we tip into that a little bit? What was it like going to China? What kind of drove you to go there too?
The funny thing is, in our minds over here in America, right? We have this perception of China. Right. I know some of them, it's communist. I know when we're talking about school, a lot of times when you look at the top of the class, there are some names that look like they're not from here. But there's this perception of China that is way different when you get there. So if we want to talk about students, right, the kids are just like the kids here. Like you got some kids who want to do stuff, they want to work and they want to put their best foot forward. You got some kids that are like, this sucks. I hate school. I do not want to do this. Right.
How old were the kids that you were teaching in China?
I want to say they were maybe like 4 to 8. Kind of, and then I had another class that was kind of middle school age. I didn't teach many high schoolers over there though.
Imagine if we taught like Chinese in America to kids that were like that. People would freak out. It would
Texas, I think it would look the same, man.
It would be cool, but
wherever you go, like kids are kids, man. And so they want to play, they want to laugh. So I would do stuff like just kind of throw myself on the ground and make funny noises just to get them to say apple, right? I'm throwing this flashcard out and I throw it over my head. They just love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, like over in China, I hooped so much. I played so much basketball. I had a great expat community over there. What else was different? The food. Food was the hardest part.
It's lots of rice.
Absolutely.
That's all I know.
It wasn't the best, I would say, and it's definitely not like American Chinese food.
Yeah.
Our stuff is way, way different. So you definitely got to have a different kind of palate if you're going over there. Don't expect.
What do they call the markets? Like when you go and you buy like food on the where you see all like the dead chickens and all that stuff. What is that called?
Oh yeah, that's real.
Yeah,
that's real. Yeah, they just have them hanging out. You say you want that. They pull it down, or they may have them you can go into a shop, right? So you'll see them through the glass. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, chicken feet is really huge over there.
That doesn't sound very good.
I never had it, but it's a big deal. And they love KFC.
Yeah. They got chicken feet on the menu at KFC?
I don't think so. I think that's more like a street food kind of thing.
That'd be some next level KFC right there, man. I think it was good. Like, how old were you when you went over there? Was it a long time ago? Was it recent?
I was 26. So What is that? 7 years ago?
I mean, I think it changed your perspective, right? I think there's always something to living abroad, right?
It's nothing like it because it's going to be a totally different experience. No matter where you go, it's not going to be like America. Mm-hmm. And you don't really, I think it could kind of go either way. Like you really go there and you're like, man, I love America. I wish I could get back. Or you start to have an affinity, right? You start to appreciate these other cultures and these different dynamics and you start to see like, man, you can live life a different way. It doesn't have to be like how it is here. So when we got back, my wife and I, because we went together, we spent the year there. We got real close, man, because
the only people speak English, right?
Exactly, man. And it was where we were was a huge city, 20 million people. So there was a big expat community. So it wasn't an issue finding people that speak English, but you got to
Did they speak a lot of English? Did a lot of people speak English?
I want to say yes.
Like
yes.
5 people.
I feel like, well, over there, a lot of people, and they told me this, the goal is to get to America.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people, they're like, man, we just trying to get to America somehow. So English is prevalent in the bigger cities because they want to know it. They want to speak it well enough so that it just betters their chances to being able to come to America, succeed. So it was a big deal to have a change in perspective. When we got back, we were like, we don't have to retire here. We don't have to necessarily raise our kids here. It was a conversation where you go, well, maybe we could do this somewhere else.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, one thing my sister said about Korea that I'm just curious if it's like that in China. Did you feel kind of like safer on the streets, and was it more community oriented? Yeah,
100%, 100%. Because I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Right.
And so
not cool. I don't know. Maybe
it's definitely
I mean,
not
Detroit's
one of those places that you feel safe. Exactly. And there, nobody has guns.
Right.
You never saw a gun, just not even the police. The only people that I remember maybe having a gun was the people who pick up money. So like Garda, like those kind of people pick up money from banks and different places. I think those were the only people who had guns. Everybody else, security, a police officer, if you seen one, they had maybe like a nightstick. That was it. Nobody had guns. So I never felt like unsafe, even if it was late and I was out.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because she was saying in Korea, like every little section of the places had their own community. They had their own thing. They were trying to be like she would go to parties and she would just feel like everybody was there together. It was like a big community thing, and it's just kind of different than it is in America.
Same.
Yeah, that's wildness. I lived in Germany for 2 years, so I think getting out of the country and living somewhere else it was one of the best times of my life, and it was freaking awesome, pretty much. But it's just a good thing, and you realize how little Americans really know about the rest of the world. We got our own made up stories, and then whatever the TV tells you.
Yes, exactly. When people think of Germany, they probably don't think of all the stuff that comes to your mind first. They probably think of communism and Holocaust, all of this old stuff that we've been indoctrinated with. It's wait a second, it's 2022. There's some other things happening.
Germany was fancy. I mean, Europe was fancy. It was cool, man. I mean, I was in the army and I was just an asshole. I was just drunk, traveling around all over the place, doing all kinds of stupid shit. But it was an experience, man. And I want to go back now, and I think it'd be really cool. You think you want to go back? I was in Baumholder, Germany. So I lived there for 2 years. It's just right in the middle. It's in the middle of nowhere, Germany. But I went to, Italy. I went to all the different countries, Amsterdam. I went everywhere, man. It was a blast. But you think you want to go back to China?
Under the right circumstances, I would. We definitely still have friends back there, people that I still talk to today. But we have a 1-year-old.
Oh yeah,
so you can't just roll. You get a mortgage. You get because I'm a teacher. I got summers off. So really,
that's cool.
If I wanted to just burn off, that would be easy to do. But, my wife does not work as an educator. So there would have to be the right situation. We really have to plan stuff out. It's a 16-hour.
And I saw that you spoke at high schools and stuff like that. What would you talk about?
If I went to a high school, I would really try to help kids understand that you do not have to have it all figured out by the time you turn 18. That is a misconception. That is not how life works. We're adults.
Nobody knows what they're doing, man. That's kind of
so many people. When you think you know what you're doing, you really don't. That's one of the things I would try to stress to kids. College is not for everybody. Entrepreneurship, I don't think is for everybody. There are people who will be janitors for life.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear that, but somebody's got to do the job.
You're a janitor.
Hey,
I
man,
mean,
you just
somebody's got
never
to do
know.
it, man. Nobody knows what anybody's going through, and it's just like, whatever. The janitor's probably
That's
going to
true.
be living large because he's got a job, whereas there's people that are just making shit up. Who knows, man?
Hey, they might be a janitor in the daytime, but in the nighttime,
Yeah, he
hey,
goes
man, you never
off.
know, man.
DJ
Hey,
janitor. I think it's interesting. I mean, I've been doing a bunch of podcasts lately, but just living life and doing kind of what you want is kind of one of the most important things. I think as you grow older, especially, you're like, life is short, man. Like you could stress out about
man,
all kinds of stupid shit, but it's better just to like find things that you really enjoy doing and then make sure that it fits into your life and you can do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
100% agree. That's how, I mean, we're both here. Who would have thought? Did you ever think that you'd be doing podcasting or talking to all the great people that you've come across 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago? No
Yeah,
way.
no,
Not
I
me.
did. Yeah, no. I was doing all kinds of other shit. The thing that I am consistent with is this podcast. It's like at all the things that I do, I start like the things that I'm truly fall in love with and things I really enjoy. I keep doing, you know what I mean? And then I outgrow the other ones or I just change my mind because I'm a nut.
Yep.
It's just kind of how it goes. Let's talk about your podcast, man. Like, how did you start your podcast journey, or like what's it been like? What have been some big moments or something?
I have a couple of episodes that are landmarkers for me. I started the podcast because I went through this training with my church, right? So my pastor, he's like, always find your purpose, find your gifts, and then just work in those things, right? We are supposed to earn money. We have to earn a living. Why not do the things that you love to do? And, because that's going to be the stuff that you're best at. And so one of the things that I feel like I'm gifted at is just being able to talk to people, being able to connect, being able to speak, right? Whether it's one-on-one or whether it's to a group of people. I'm not a big rah-rah guy, but I could put a good story together. So we go through this 8-week training, and at the end, it tells you to make a goal. I think it's over the next 10 weeks. What are you going to do? After you go through this training, you figure out what your gift is and all of that great stuff. And so for me, I have been thinking about podcasting, talking about podcasting for the longest. And so from there, I bought a mic, I put my blankets up in my closet and everything. And, I started it, like selling CDs out the trunk. Right. So that's how the podcast started. Some landmarker episodes for me, the ones that I remember, like, okay, I'm on the right track. I think I'm doing something that's good, was episode 26 with my uncle, who's this big marketing manager, fancy guy. He's always been the big shot of the family. We all know who that person is. Uncle Tony. That's the first Tony. Yeah. Right. I didn't become Tony till later, but Uncle Tony's the big shot. I was able to connect with him on that episode as men, right? I had some life experiences. I had my own stories, and I was able to hear stories from his childhood, talking about my dad and my aunt. And so that was a great episode for me. And I was like, man, this is really cool.
Right.
And episode 42, Charlie Fatal. This is one of the episodes where I had this guy that I didn't know. Right. He wasn't one of my buddies. He wasn't somebody from church, wasn't a brother. He has his own firm. He built up his financial firm, and we just talked and chopped it up. And it was a great, great episode. And I'm like, man, like this person who's accomplished in their realm decided to come to my little corner of the earth and say, hey, I like what you're doing. I want to be on your show. Yeah. Like, okay. Somebody with some credentials thinks I'm okay. So I think I'm doing the right thing. And one other episode from, it was episode 30 with the same pastor that kind of is pushing me to, take this thing as far as I can take it. I had him on for episode 30. In this episode, I feel like my creative genius, right? I use that term totally loosely, right? But I feel like I had a really cool premise for this episode. Episode 30 was 30 little things I'm thankful for. So, right, that's not my family or my wife. I'm thankful for my job. It's not that stuff. That's big stuff. We all know that. Little things like when you get green lights all the way to work. You go, yes.
Right on.
Okay. I don't know if you make your own coffee at home, but when you brew it and you get the creamer and the sugar and the coffee ratio just right, you take a sip. That's perfect. Those little W's that we get in life that kind of help us to keep going. You're like, all right, today was a good day. This happened. One of my favorite ones is when you got your playlist going, right? and you got it on shuffle, and every song is like perfect, boom, boom, boom. You're like, yeah, man, the shuffle knows me today. It's got the energy. But these are the things that I think that really help us, that keep us going. So that's one of my favorite episodes. I think those three really kind of helped me to hone my craft and to show me that I was doing some good things.
I'm listening, man. I'm thinking about, you play basketball. So when you're playing basketball on that playlist just is hitting, man, and you're just fucking sinking shots and doing nothing but just fucking balling, man. Like, it's stuff like that. It's good to be grateful for just everything in life, man. It's kind of interesting. So just in the back of my mind, I got this little list that I'm thinking of just how to monetize your podcast. You mind if I share with you? Is that cool? It's like the best ways to really make money as a podcaster, right? Like let's say like we want to both become like badass podcasters and just make fucking stacks. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the goal, right? That's what you want. I mean, first of all, you got to learn how to edit it. You got to learn how to do it. You got to learn how to talk to the right kind of people. You know what I mean? And like, it's kind of an art. So you got to make great content. You got to get good at fucking talking to people. You got to get really interesting guests on the show. You don't have to, but I mean, it helps to have someone to bounce ideas off of. And then also what's cool, like now, like when I make episodes is like, I got tons of ideas or whatever. So I'll just make tons of episodes talking to myself where I go into these little rabbit holes and I get to study stuff and then I share it. But now you got to make money, right? Because you like doing this. I like doing this. The best way to make money is to basically create an email list, right? Because then you're going to have people come into your world and then you get them to take a step deeper. So they're going to join your email list. Once they're in your email list, you can automate this kind of stuff, right? So you can set up affiliate links. You can have every couple of days you send them a new thing. Hey, I just use this software for this thing and I fucking monetize it this way. You can create courses, right? And I recommend creating a free course because then you're giving your listeners something of value. And then once they're in your email campaign, then you're going to be able to start selling them. You can start with some low ticket courses. You could do one on public speaking. You could do how to get a job teaching people English in China. That's a process. That's an experience that you had. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And then they come into your world, and then you just send them emails every day, and you can consistently grow the email account. But how you monetize is you are on all the platforms, right? You're on all the platforms. You're giving away this great value, and you're going to basically get them into the email. And then in the email, I call it an email super system. Let's say, I don't know, 3 months of pre-written emails that is just going to pitch them this course. That's going to pitch them this affiliate product. And it's not like you're being spammy. They get to connect with you. They like to read your emails and they're not going to unsubscribe. It's kind of crazy. You think they're all going to leave because you sell them stuff, but you got to make a living too, right? So this is how you do it. And then you just keep creating these content pieces, but then you start chopping them up, man. So like we have this whole episode, there's going to be some nuggets, some gems that you chop up. You put those on TikTok, you put it on Facebook, and then you monetize those platforms as well. And then once you really get to the point where you got the system down and you're actually making money, then you can hire people. So those are the main ways to do it. But then once you actually build a bigger platform, you should start charging money for guests to come on your show. That's like the easiest way to monetize a podcast, I think, is to say, hey, look, $100, $500, $1,000, whatever your podcast is up, you come on, we'll chop it up, and then I'm going to edit it. I'm going to share it on all these different platforms. All these people are going to listen to it. So those are like two ways that are kind of out of the box. The main way that people think they're going to monetize their podcast is they're going to like have some sponsor who's just going to fall from the heavens and just be like, oh, just with all my money because you make a podcast. You know what I mean? The reality is, if you want a sponsor or if you just want to sell affiliate products, you got to reach out to them and you got to say, hey, this is the concept of my show. It's doing really good. You want to go the long run. But now I'm reaching out to these brands and I'm saying, hey, like the show is doing good. I'm consistent. I'm not going to stop. Most people don't even get past like 9 episodes, man. They make a couple episodes, then they fizzle off, but once you start reaching out to people, you'll start to see like what they want to see, what their metrics are. But as soon as you find a business that's like, yeah, let's do it, you could go the long run, man. You say, look, we'll start right now. Podcast is small. I'm going to stay consistent, but let's take this thing for the long haul. That's how a lot of these podcasts find people that really fit with their brand. They make money. They pay you a little bit. And then as you start getting more and more views and more people listening, they're going to take it with you as long as you possibly can. And they're going to be excited because we're building an audience. If we love podcasting, right? You love doing your thing. You're talking to pastors, you're talking to everybody, and you share stuff like you just said, share with me, like things that you're grateful for. You should be getting money for this stuff. And it's just having that extra wheel though, going, be like, hey, I'm going to keep this podcast flowing. I'm going to keep it going. And I'm going to spend time though, when I'm not editing, when I'm not podcasting, reaching out to brands, looking for ways to monetize this, because this would be a cool way to make extra money. I mean, who doesn't like extra money?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, I think that's the struggle for a lot of podcasters, myself included, because it's like, okay, if I don't have this, this huge following, right? I'm building it. I think there are a lot of different ways to make money, but one thing that you said, I think is the most important is the long haul. People don't get past 9 episodes, right?
Yeah,
I've been
crazy.
podcasting for a year and a half. It's a lot of work.
I mean, you've had episodes too where it's just like, damn, like that was some powerful stuff. You know what I mean? You've had a couple of those. That's just like that. I think that's a sign you're going the right direction, though. Personally, I just had like some guy just show up from Chicago, and I had like a fucking spiritual experience listening to him chat on my podcast to me. Nobody else, it's going to come out soon, but it's just like, damn, bro, like this is a good thing to do. This is like, we're spreading the message. Maybe we don't even know what the message is, especially when you're starting out. So like I started my podcast just because I wanted to talk about creativity. So like I'm an artist. All I do is when I'm making art, I listen to books. I've read, hundreds of books. I'm one of those weird people. And like made a lot of money doing art. And I was like, well, what are people really going to listen to me talk about? And I was like, well, creativity. Everybody needs creativity. And it was one of the most important things I ever did for my life, though, man. Like, I recommend if you're ever going to study something randomly, try and get in nitty gritty with creativity. You'll learn about like flow state. You'll learn about Da Vinci, Einstein, Steve Jobs, so I went down the rabbit hole and I just wanted to share. So that's how my podcast started. If you listen to those episodes, it sounds like shit, though. I was just talking to myself on a walk, like with my phone, like all over the place. Like I can't even watch them anymore. But it was important for me. I guess it's self-expression. At the end of the day, everyone needs a way to express themselves. If you're going to do it through podcasting or basketball or teaching or whatever you're going to do, because we'll go completely nuts. When we're kids, we just express ourselves and we do whatever the hell kids do. And then we grow up and we get this hard shell, man, where we're not fun anymore. We're just like, being weird.
That's the worst.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the worst. And when my wife and I got married, well, even before we got married, I'm always stressing, even now, because I still don't think she has like a hobby, right? So something she can just go hang out and do. I'm like, you got to have a hobby. You have to have an outlet. It's so important because life is more than just work.
Yeah.
It's way more to life than just work. So, I mean, I got these guitars back here. I have 4 guitars up here. Am I this great guitar player? Absolutely not. I know how to play, right? I can play some stuff, but it's something that I was like, okay, I want to do it. And I started trying to learn, and so I'm making some progress. And then I'm like, I want to be a podcaster. I want to podcast. I want to talk. I want to connect. So just do it, right? I love to play basketball. Man, if I could just hoop, I couldn't hoop all the time. I don't think my back could take it.
Be tired.
Man. Just 33-year-old.
I think I can hoop, and then I go hoop with other people that actually hoop, and I just get wrecked. I'm just like panting. I'm dying on the floor. But still fun though.
Gotta have an outlet, man. That's what we're getting down to. You gotta have an outlet.
Yeah, you gotta express yourself. Otherwise, you'll just go completely nuts. And I think you gotta express yourself more than most people even do. Like as an American in America, we don't express ourselves. That's not what you do. You don't talk about anything you're doing unless it's really cool until it's fucking awesome. Then everybody was like, oh yeah, I supported him growing up balling.
Like, you're like, wait, you didn't support my podcast when I was at 20 episodes, bro. Right. Like I was telling people about my you know, because exactly. You're like, bro,
I know. Well,
wait till it pops. Wait till I blow up.
Right.
I don't want to hear it.
It's kind of an art to get people to even listen to your podcast. So you got to like make good thumbnails and get good at copywriting so that when you're spamming it on social media or whatever, it catches people's attention. And then like you think you're being too clickbaity, but you need to be more clickbaity. You need to be like, bro, like if you don't listen to this podcast, you're gonna die. Like listen right now. And then get them in your world. And then once they listen, they're gonna be happy, man. That's all it is. But you gotta aggressively force people to listen in the beginning. It's like I don't know, it's like a dance. You just gotta like coax them in, like, hey, you're gonna learn how to make money, you're gonna learn how to talk to somebody.
No matter what you're doing, right? If you start to find something that you would rather do, most of us cannot just quit our jobs and just go do what we want to do. Yeah. Most of us are not in that position. So you got to start to position yourself, sometimes slowly but surely, sometimes fastly but surely. You got to start to move things out of the way to really get into the things that you actually want to do. So anybody who out there who hates their job, who does not enjoy what they're doing, who thinks it sucks, who may think that the job is okay, but I want to do something else. Like, that's totally fine. You got to start like putting things in play, whether that's saving, whether that's maybe getting some other certification, some other kind of education. You got to start moving towards those things, because eventually you get to the point where you go, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I don't care. I'm not doing it. I got to do something else. I got to move. And I think, what we had over the past couple of years gave people an opportunity to do that as well.
I mean, if they took advantage of it, most people probably just watched Netflix and didn't do shit. That's how it goes, though.
Right. That's easy. It would have been easy to do that.
I don't know. I'm thinking of a Les Brown quote. What Les Brown says, like it was like 87% of heart attacks always happen on a Monday. So everybody listen out there, you might not want to go to work on Monday, man. People are dying to go to work, bro.
Man, literally dying to get there and just not go home. That's the worst. That's so bad.
No, it's like, it's awful, bro. But I mean, it's also a mindset thing. Sometimes you just got to get that positive, be like, hey, at least I got this job. I love what I'm doing. I'm going to do it today. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to try and squeeze in some other stuff that I really love and just going to chip away at stuff. If you just keep chipping away a little bit every day, put an alarm on your phone when you have like 15 minutes where you can just edit a podcast real quick or whatever the hell your extra thing is that you're trying to get to, you'll get there. Yeah. It's just going to take a while, and then if you can prioritize your time and do all kinds of things, that's what it is.
You got to keep working. You have to. There's no substitute for hard work.
I guess so, man. I really want to just manifest shit and just have like do nothing, but it seems like life is really asking everyone to work their ass off right now.
Man, and it's without question. Without question. Work. Especially in America. We work more than anybody else. If you look at studies, man, people take vacations. They take 2-3 weeks off every quarter, right? And work weeks are shorter. We're the ones over here working ourselves to death. Literally, a lot of people are just work till they die, right? You just talked about heart attacks on Mondays. So it has to be a mindset shift singularly, right? You got to want to do something different. Then you got to put in the work. Oh man, full circle.
It is life though. But like, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years plus now. And I even when I decided I was gonna be an entrepreneur, I had to work even harder than I did if I had a job. So a lot of people, if you have a passion side of a project, like it's good to keep your job. It's not like a bad thing. Everybody has to work. I've been telling this story a lot, but it's about Ulysses S. Grant. The first war he was in, he was like a major or something like that, and it was against Mexico, right? And so he was the reason they won that war, though, because he was a bad motherfucker. He just showed up, killed everybody, won the war, and then he was broke, though. Like there was a period of time between that war and then the next war, or whatever happened for him, where his family was broke, they were struggling, so they were on the side of the road, and he was selling firewood, right? And one of the people from the military shows up, and they're like, "Yo, Grant, like, what are you doing?" He says,
"What's up?"
I'm solving poverty. And that's all he was doing. He was just solving poverty. He was just taking care of what he had to do at that time. It didn't make him less of a man. He went on to be the president of the United States and on the $50 bill. And he didn't get out of that perspective. He knew he was the shit. He just was solving poverty at the moment, and that's kind of the way you got to do sometimes, it just is what it is. But don't quit your job. Just start a way to make time work on your side, where in the other after hours, if you can, keep building, keep growing, and keep just striving. And someday, not someday, you will get there. That's the hard part that people don't see nowadays. It's like, it's going to happen if you work at it. It just might not be in your time set right now.
Man, we want it to happen right away.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on the show today. I got 2 questions that I ask everybody who comes on. But before we get into that, what's the best way for people to reach out and get in contact with you on social media, or just kind of get into your world?
You can find me on social media at The Living Numbers Podcast. That's going to be TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You can find the podcast on YouTube, as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify and a bunch of other places, because I use Anchor, so they just ship it everywhere. So if you just Google The Living Numbers Podcast, you'll be able to find me pretty much anywhere. You can email the show, onetonyrambles@gmail.com. And Facebook, I'm all over the place. So like you said, you got to get everywhere and push that content out. So I'm doing my best.
Hell yeah, man.
The Living Numbers Podcast.
So the first question I ask everybody is, what motivates you? What gets you fired up?
I talked about this, I guess a little bit when I brought my pastor up, but there's this scripture that says basically work as if you're working for God, right? So when I attack everything with that mindset, right, I think there's going to be a trickle down effect. If I'm working for God, like my wife's always going to be taken care of. If I'm working like here, everybody that falls below that is going to be good, right? So my wife, my son, my other teachers that I work with, my kids, my players at school, like all those people are going to be fine. My church is going to be good. So I think that's one of the things that kind of always keeps me grounded and keeps me working, because I don't want to disappoint God, right? He sent me here to do something. So I need to go do it. So sometimes it's not always easy, but like you talked about, having a good attitude, finding ways to be grateful. I think then that's when you can kind of turn that leaf. Sometimes you need to actually get back in the bed, turn over twice, and then wake up on the right side.
And then the next question I ask is like, what's the key word is impact, right? So what is one habit or one thing that you found that you do or that you want to start doing more of that has really had an impact on your life and gotten you a result that you can see in the real world beneficial?
I think just continuing to find ways to help people. So all teachers are getting their stuff together, and I'm that kind of person that will get distracted from what I'm supposed to be doing by either talking to somebody else or helping somebody else, and likely both. So I was walking past the teacher's room and she was like, man, you were a godsend last year, because I was trying to figure this thing out and you walked past my room at just the perfect time and you really helped me with this thing. I mean, I don't really need to get into it. It's not really that big a deal for this, but just finding ways to help people and being available. Like a lot of times we get too busy to even notice these amazing people that we have around us. That person can be a cashier that you work next to. It could be a teller. It could be, the person, putting away the meat in the back, right? There are so many amazing people that are around us. And if we don't slow down to take the time to get to know these people and get off our stupid phones, then I think we miss those opportunities to make that impact. So to answer the question thoroughly and straightforward, find ways to help people in whatever way you can, with whatever time you have, right? Don't overextend, don't not get your own work done, but if you can, just help people.
I think that's probably one of the most important habits that nobody talks about. Find ways to help people, man. Help somebody every day. See if you can be more of a helpful person. I think, what is it? I can't think of the exact quote, but it's like, if you do good into the world will do good to you. You know what I mean? It's something like that. So that sounds
Man, you never know. Like, you really never know. I didn't know I was going to get all of that great information that you gave me about monetization. I just reached out like, hey, I like what you're doing. Can I be on? You say yes. And now, right, this great exchange of information just happened just from me trying to connect. And so, boom.
I got a course coming out to help people monetize their podcasts and their content creation. So I'll send it to you free whenever it's done. And everybody listen else, you got to pay though, unless you come on the show and be awesome like fucking Tony here, man. No, I appreciate you though, man. Everybody listening, his podcast is The Living Numbers, right?
Living Numbers podcast with Tony Rambles.
My man. I guess actually before we end, you got any last thoughts or anything else you want to share?
I would just say thanks, Robert or Rob. I don't know. Lion, Mr. Lion.
Mr. Lion, Sir Lion.
If I was you, I would just have people call me Mr. Lion. Man, just, thank you for allowing me to come on, with your monetization, your hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that are listening. You allow me to bring my little corner of the earth, over here. So I'm always grateful because people can just say, no, I don't want you on. So just thanks for having me. And you're a great host.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks everybody listening. Hit me with the likes, the subscribe, drop some comments. I look forward to talking to you guys in the next one. All right. Peace.